Hey guys, it's Michelle from Bits and Pieces Paper Lab, and today I wanted to share with you a little secret to get through your stash, to use it all up. And my secret is make your own scrapbooking and card making kits. Now, we've all been collecting our stash for years, and it's probably overflowing out of every crevice in our craft room. And sometimes when you sit down to craft, to make something, when you have a few minutes, you're just so overwhelmed by all your stuff, you don't really know where to start. You maybe push some papers around and try to find matching stuff, and you just feel overwhelmed, and you end up spending all your time trying to pick out your supplies. So this is my secret to get over that and to make your crafting time count. You make your own kits ahead of time. So I've looked at several of the kit clubs, kind of analyzed their recipe, and I've come up with a recipe to make your own kit. Now, if you go to my blog, bitsandpiecespaperlab.com/make your own card kit, you will find a printable that I've made, and it's got the recipe on it for you. So as I'm explaining this, you can sure take notes, but you don't really need to because I've got it all done for you. And it's got a little checklist as you go through and pick out your kit, so you'll know exactly what to grab. So let's talk about how to do this. The first thing you want to do is get an inspiration piece. Now, I got this idea from Trading Spaces. I don't know how old you are, but maybe you know about Trading Spaces. Back in the 90s, I hope it's the 90s. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the 90s. Trading Spaces was a home remodeling show, and many of the designers on that show talked about choosing an inspiration piece that you could design your room around. So we're going to choose an inspiration piece to design our kit around. And it can be anything. You can start with a paper, you can start with ephemera, you can start with buttons, something that inspires you, that you love, and you want to base your kit around that. That's where we're going to start. So I chose for my inspiration piece today it's crepe paper craft market line, and it's a sheet of tags. It's got some gold sparkle. It's kind of hard to see that, but gold glittery sparkle. Just a little sheet of tags you can cut out, and I just absolutely loved this. So I want this to be my inspiration piece. So that's where I'm going to start. Now, after you've chosen your inspiration piece, you're going to collect some papers that will match your inspiration piece and go along with it. Generally, your inspiration piece will have a theme to it. Mine doesn't really. It's just, it's got a camera on it, but it's just some cute little inspirational words, some cork tags and stuff like that. So I don't really have to worry about a theme. But let's say I had picked a paper that had maybe it was all cameras. I'd want to keep that in mind as I build the rest of my kit, to kind of keep a camera, film, documenter theme. So whatever the theme of your inspiration piece is, you do want to try to kind of match that. So the first paper we're going to pick out is something that goes along with our theme. So I decided, since my inspiration piece doesn't really have a theme, that I want to do something springish, maybe birds, nests, something like that. So I chose a wood grain. I have a couple different options. I looked through my stash. I have this October Afternoon. This is from the Weather Vane collection. One of my favorite wood grain papers ever. I bought like 20 pieces of it when it was on sale, and I hate to use it, but it needs to be used. So the other option, this is actually from my stash, partially used piece of crepe paper Journey wood grain. This would be easier to find just because it's a newer line. But both of these are wood grains. Great option to go with a bird or a spring feathery nest kind of theme. So that's the first category of paper you're going to find. You're going to find something that matches your theme and has a bit of a pattern to it. Okay? Next, you're going to choose a few pieces of paper that just have a subtle design, match your color, that make good background pieces, aren't going to really distract from your main bold pieces or from your inspiration piece. So I looked through my inspiration piece, and there's some yellow in it. So I pulled out a couple of yellow options. So both of these, you can't even really see the design on these. It's so subtle, and that's what I want. I want something that's kind of a solid piece, isn't going to detract from my other bolder pieces, that will just make good layering pieces. Okay? Then you're going to want to do the same thing, choosing another color, something that's real subtle, that can be mixed and matched, but it's not going to take away from the main theme of the kit. So I've got this October Afternoon. It's pink and red polka dot. Again, very subtle pattern. This one is My Mind's Eye On Trend, and you can see it's got some gold dots, which are going to go great with my inspiration piece because it had some gold glitter in it too. So, and both of these pinks, they're totally different pinks, but they both match and go well with my inspiration piece. Next, you're going to choose a piece of paper that has a bolder, I'm going to call it a medium subtle. So it's not a bold pattern, it's a medium design so that you can see the design, but it's not going to overpower your design. So this is an Echo Park paper. This is like a green office kind of, I don't know, graph paper. So you can see it's definitely got a design, but it's not overpowering. And this one is a turquoise, and it's got, you can actually see the design because it's more subtle. I mean, it's more bold than subtle, but it's not super bold. So it's a medium subtle paper. That's what I'm calling it. Anyways, either of these options would go good. Next, I'm going to go with my bold option. So every kit should have something a little bold that you can add bits and pieces of it in there. So if you're making a scrapbook kit, your bold paper can be big floral, it could be a big design. It doesn't matter really the sizing on a scrapbook page. If you're making a card, you want to choose something with a smaller design. So the way you can tell is if you imagine cutting like a 4x4 square out of your paper and you look at it, are you going to see just like maybe half of a flower or one leaf from your design, or are you going to see several of the designs? That's how you want to determine. If you're making a scrapbook kit, you can have as big a designs as you want, but if it's a card kit, you need to actually choose something smaller patterned. And a great way to do this, most of the collections have 6x6 paper pads, which are great for card makers. And they'll take their big, bold designs and scale them down for card makers. So you could choose some 12x12 papers, or you could even grab several 6x6 papers that kind of have that smaller design for your bold option. So this is my bold option. I've got, this is a crepe paper line, and it's got some bright flowers on it. Florals are always a great way to go for your bold design. It gets a little tricky when you're making masculine pages to come up with something bold, but I know you can do it. That's a trick. But this is my other option. It's an October afternoon paper, and it's got pink and red florals. But you'll see it's a bright, the flowers really stand out. They're not subtle, they're not blending into the background at all. They are really standing out. So that's what you choose for your bold. Something that's going to make a statement, on theme, the right colors. So, all right. Now that you've got all your pattern papers picked out, you need to get the foundation of your kit, which is the cardstock. If you're making a scrapbook kit, you might need a little bit more cardstock because, of course, your backgrounds are going to be larger. If you're making cards, you can size it down a bit. So my recipe is actually for a card kit. And so I've got listed 5 8.5 by 11 card bases in white. I like to make my card bases in white, but you can sure pick whatever color you like for your card bases. And then I picked a couple other cardstocks that are going to go well with my kit. So I've got a brown and I've got a light pink. These are going to match all my papers, match my inspiration piece. Okay, so now we're done with the papers. Once I get all my papers selected, now of course I've given you 2 options, and you can sure pick them out like that. Pick out 2 options and then lay them all out and pick just what you want to use, or you can just pick one at a time. But I'm going to lay them all out, look, make sure they all kind of have the same, that they go together and that they all match the inspiration piece. Just do a double check before I move on. Okay? All right, so we're ready to move on to the hard stuff, the embellishments and that stuff rather than paper. Okay? So on my list, first category, I have words. So for words, you want to, it's going to depend on if you're making a scrapbook kit or a card kit, but you'll need to choose something that has titles for scrapbook page or small sentiments for card makers. Now, even if you're making scrapbook pages, we all love to just tuck little like inspirational words and little quotes and stuff into our projects. So you might want to pick out a title and a little set of sentiments or something like that. But this is a card kit, so I don't need to worry about big titles. And I am a die cutter, so I just cut my own titles for whatever I need. I don't buy thickers or anything like that. I just cut my own titles. But you can sure use thickers or anything like that, any big alphabet that you can use for your titles. All right? Okay, so my card kit. I'm going to use this. These are from Die Cuts with a View. And they're kind of Project Life shaped stickers. And so they have little sayings and sentiments on them. There's several in the package, and they make great card sentiments. I can use them right on my cards, or cut them apart, or however I want to use them. So that's my first option for words. My second option is stamps. And stamps are great because you can just reuse them all the time. So this is by Verve. It's the Take Note set, and it just has a ton of little sentiments I can stamp. And I love using stamps because you can stamp right on your project, or you can cut out little tags and stamp right on the tags. So that's the words category. You want to grab something that will be your title or your sentiment and some little inspirational words to tuck in there. Okay, and the next category is textured layering. So I like my cards kind of layered and frilly, and that might not be your style. So if it's not, you can just skip this layer, or you can just use scraps of your patterned paper for this layer. But I do like my cards to have a little bit of dimension and a little bit of texture. So for my textured layering, which is the second category, I picked out these Cork Tags, and they match my inspiration piece because it has some cork patterns on it. But they're just little fun pre-cut cork tags. The other option I have, you may not be able to see these, but these are Heidi Swap from Project Life, and they're Project Life sized cards, but they have gold foiling or shimmer on them. So these would be another thing that you could just tuck in amongst your layers. It's not really going to be the focus of your card. It's more just an added layer. All right, so that's the textured layer. Okay, next category is hard embellishments. So for hard embellishments, I like to think of candy. So it's something that's small, but hard, and is going to give a little bit of dimension to your project. So buttons would be a good idea, flare buttons, anything like that. I chose these little acrylic roses from American Crafts. I don't know if you can see those, but they're just going to pop off the page a little. There's something kind of round and hard. They look like candy. That's kind of my qualifier for this category. It's candy-ish. So if you don't want the thickness, you could also use chipboard buttons, chipboard shapes, something like that. But something that's going to pop off a little and give you a little bit of dimension. All right, so that is the hard embellishments category. All right, next up is the ephemera. And most companies sell just the most adorable little packages of ephemera. This is a jelly bean soup. Just make sure that they match your inspiration piece theme-wise and color scheme-wise, and that they match your pattern papers you chose also. Okay, but because I'm a die cutter, I just can make my own ephemera. So I cut these. You can cut them all out at once, out of white or out of a different color, or you can cut them as you're creating. Decide what you want. So you can make your own ephemera that's perfectly on theme, perfectly colored. That is why I love die cutting. You can make your own that matches perfectly. So that's a couple options for the ephemera category. Next is confetti. So that's kind of the trend right now, is to add a little sprinkle of something to your pages and to your cards, something that just looks scattered on the card. So you can use literal doodlebug sprinkles, which are these little epoxy they're not buttons, they're like little epoxy dots, tiny little things. Another good option for this would be sequins. This is a package of colored sequins. And another great option, if you don't have any of these items, would be to just use ink, maybe paint splatters or ink splatters, something like that you can just create right on your card. So that's your confetti category. All right, and then the last category would be twine or ribbon. You can choose some ribbons, twine, floss, whatever you want, just to provide the finishing touch for your projects. So, and you could sure choose big ribbons, whatever your style is. You can adapt this kit to whatever your style is. And most likely, the stuff you have in your stash is already going to be your style, so it's easy to put together. All right, so I hope that you will go to my blog and download the kit and make your own kits and start using your stash. Again, you can find that printable at bitsandpiecespaperlab.com/make your own card kit. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.